So we shall continue with the discussion where we left off yesterday regarding the chitta vrittis, that is, tendencies of the mind. There are 5 tendencies of the mind. This is given in the 16th chapter of the first part of the Mudgal Puran, where the 5 chitta vrittis are kshipta, moodha, vikshipta, ekagra, and niruddha. Kshipta, we saw that it was based on Rajoguna. We discussed Moodha, which is based on Tamoguna. We began with a discussion on Moodha because it is the beginning of the first Chitta Vritti, that is, it is starting from ignorance. So initially, we are in an ignorant state. The mind is an ignorant state. It's a clean state. It begins, all creation begins from Tamoguna. From Tamas, the vrittis happen, the changes happen, which results in creation. So the first attribute of the chitta, which is moodha, is where the initially ego happens. Ego, and when it carried to the extreme, it becomes ahankara or arrogance, and which leads to possessiveness. And the possessiveness of I, me, mine, and gathering more and more becomes stronger and stronger. So this is the first chitta vritti. The person becomes deluded and he even resorts to stealing or grabbing, taking away by force. It is a kind of aggrandizement. That is, you want to have more and more of things. You want, for that he may even take revenge and he may commit sins. This state of chitta is responsible for corruption, squabbles, struggles, battles, and wars in the world. This we discussed in some length yesterday. Today we shall take up the next one, that is Kshipta, which is based on Rajoguna. This Rajoguna attribute of the Chitta, after the Tamoguna gets stabilized, or you can say further to Tamoguna, as the mind progresses or it develops more and more thoughts and activities, it develops the Rajoguna. The Rajoguna starts manifesting. The Chitta becomes directed to external pleasures. Initially, it is only about possessing it. Then it starts indulging. That is external pleasures. Human desires increase. It is the same. You want to have more and more happiness. You want to enjoy the objects in life. And when you keep on enjoying repeatedly over and over again, you want to have more of it. And when you want to have more of the same thing, you get caught up in it. You get caught up into that cycle of, or into that bondage. You know from experience that a certain thing gives you happiness. Like if you feel, yes, going to a movie gives me happiness, at least that 3 hours of fantasy, a fantastic story comes up on the screen and I'm able to forget everything else, all my sorrows, and I'm able to enjoy. So you indulge in it, and then you want to have more and more of it. You want to frequently go for movies, or that's one of the things I'm saying. So is any other thing. If you want to have a particular sweet dish, or you want to have some kind of a chaat masala, so you feel like having that. So you want to indulge more and more of it, and you get caught up in it, and that becomes binding. That is a bondage. Bondage is created. So similarly, that is one of those are physical desires. There are other desires. You want to have more money. You want to have more wealth. You want to have more fame. So one desires wealth, the best spouse in the world, and recognition in society. So you want to have status. We want to go up the ladder, want to have more and more of it. Means the ambition, it carries you, even though at a certain point you feel you realize you're exhausted and you can't go further, but there's no way of going back either. So that's where you get caught up. Now this here to explain more of Rajasic tendency. We know of umpteen number of cases in the world. But let us this is further elaborated in the very first Khanda itself, later on in the Khanda, in a first part, that is in the 49th chapter. Let's have a brief look at it because it is very much relating to this Rajoguna. Rajoguna Kshipta. Where this Kshipta takes you. Mudgalacharya is continuing the narration to Daksha Prajapati. And he's telling, I'll tell you one story about Vakratunda. That is Ganesha's story. So there was Richika, there was a Rishi called Richika who was from the Bhargava Bhrugu Muni. Bhrugu is the guru of the gods, Jupiter. And you know that presently Bhrugu, the Jupiter is in the wrong direction as per the astrologers, which is being forecast all over. It will be going in the reverse direction. That is, it is more or less its effect is zero. Means the positive effect is zero. So we are going to see a lot of its negative effect. So that is a very right time to deal with the negative effects of Shipta. So how it is going to affect our Chitta, how it is going to affect our mind, body, equipment. So here, there's a Rishi Richika is there, who is from the Bhargava lineage, from the Bhrigu Muni. And Bhargava Muni is does a lot of penance, years and years of penance, and he has acquired a number of yogic powers. And he has grown old also. And he has become so old, and he's living in the forest. He sees a deer. And he sees that a deer and a fawn, and then they going about their playfulness. He gets attracted to them, and he gets the lust starts developing in him. He decides that he wants to get married. So he goes to the king of that area, who was Gadha, King Gadha. He goes and asks him, I want to marry your daughter. He had a beautiful daughter, and he wanted to marry that daughter. And the king puts a condition. He says, Ghadi, yes, someone, yeah, retrograde, right. Agadi Muni, Agadi is the name of the king in that place. So he had a beautiful daughter. So this Rishi goes and asks, Rishi Ruchika goes, says, I want to marry your daughter. Now the king and Rishi Munis in those days were powerful. If you refuse them anything, they would get angry and they pronounce a curse. So he didn't want to refuse the Rishis also. So he was afraid. So the king said, okay, then he thought. So the king put a very difficult condition. He says, okay, I'll give you my daughter in marriage, provided you bring 1,000 horses with black ears. 1,000 horses with black ears. This was the condition that the king put on the Rishi. Now, Rishi was very powerful. He could travel to all the lokas. Means he had control over the gods. He went to Varuna. He asked Varuna, see, this is what I want, 1,000 horses with black ears. And immediately he produced 1,000 horses with black ears and he gave them to this King Gadi. Now the king had no option. That was the only condition that he had put. And then poor thing, that daughter was given away in marriage to this Rishi. Even the queen was very sorrowful that they were forced to give that such a beautiful young daughter to this old Rishi. And she has to go and live in the forest in very difficult conditions. She is used to living in the comforts of the palace. But still, they went through the rituals, all the marriage rituals were performed, and with all respect, with all dhana dhanya, all with the ornaments and all kinds of clothes, wealth and everything, she was sent off. And she the daughter, the girl, the princess also, she resigned to her fate. She said, yes, if this is what it is, I will accept it. And she went and started living in the forest. Now, there she was very devoted to the Rishi. She did all her, whatever she was required of her. Now, the Rishi actually was not interested as a youthful man. So he was in his own world, in his own penance and all. But then after some time, he uh, started having an attraction for the material things. So he created his own, he started creating a palace of gold. He converted that entire town into a town of gold, means with all kinds of riches everywhere. And he himself, with his penance, he developed a youthfulness. Okay. And he started enjoying his wife with in conjugal bliss. So he was in that, he was, but he was not very, because of his sannyasi mental attitude, he was not into very wanting to enjoy any marital bliss. But then he had become a young prince, means he had attained a youthful countenance. Now, when this was going on, and they were living happily in that town, the princess had lots of maid servants and all kinds of comforts, and they were living a very royal life. One day, the queen mother, decides to come and visit her daughter. She comes to this place where this hermitage was there, and she finds that there is no hermitage. Where she came to look out for that old hut where that old rishi was living. But here there was a palace, there was a big entrance arch, and all kinds of people going here and there, busy life. So she asked one of the courtiers there, who does this town belong? Who's in charge of this town? Who is the king of this town? So then that particular courtier says, listen, this is the town of Rishi Ruchika. Ruchika is the person, he's in charge of this, belongs to Ruchika. And his wife is this belongs to Ruchika. So then the queen says, oh, Ruchika, his wife is my daughter. So then she says, take me to my daughter. So they called the daughter, Miss that courtier went and called for the daughter. The daughter arrived and took her mother home. And then the mother was shocked to hear the entire transformation that was happening. See how the Rajasic tendencies happen. The Chitta Vritti, which was in as of renunciation, total penance and everything, had developed an attraction, and the desires multiplied and became into a town. Now the queen also comes there. Now the queen and the daughter says, the queen says, I would like to have a son from your husband. He's such a young, now he's such a youth, he has quite such a youthful body. So I would like to have a son from him. And you also ask for a son. So mother and daughter asks the Ruchika for that they should get sons. So what he did was he created a yajna. He performed a yajna, a yaga, and from that yaga, he created um, uh, two bowls of sweet dish. Okay, sweet dish, two bowls of sweet dish, just like our Ramayana. You remember Dasharatha performed the yagna, and then this pot of payasam came, and then it was divided among the four queens. So something like that. Here he created two bowls of sweet dish, and he was very particular that one particular bowl should be had by his daughter only, and the other bowl should be had by her mother. He was very particular in telling the daughter, this, this bowl is for your mother, and this bowl is for you. Now the daughter, she agrees, and she takes both the bowls and goes to her mother. Now the mother, and then he says, you shall both conceive sons. Having said that, Muni Richika went back to his penance and performing his rituals and all. The daughter gave the bowl meant for her mother to her mother. Now, the mother has an idea. Oh, daughter, I shall have the offering in your bowl. You take my bowl. It is the same Rishi who has performed the yajna. So, now you take my bowl, I will take your bowl. The daughter agreed. The daughter didn't give much thought to it. She agreed to her mother. After all, we are very obedient to our mothers and all. And they exchanged the offerings. After partaking the Yagna Prasada, the queen went back to her kingdom. This daughter went back to her work. And then after some time, both of them became pregnant, and it was noticeable. And Richika noticed that his wife was very, his wife's face was ferocious. His wife's face was ferocious and like a very luminous, luminous countenance she had. So Ruchika was a little bit the confused. I mean, he was a bit perturbed, and so he asked his wife, "You appear to have the luster of a kshatriya." She was now frightened. What mistake did she make?
I think it is stopped or paused. Hello, it is paused, I think.
Yes, so we shall continue. The light went off just now, so I had to switch over from the tablet to the mobile. Now this daughter became frightened. So she said, frightened. She told the truth. What had actually happened? So she told that yes, my mother and we had exchanged our bowls. The Muni was astonished. He said to his wife, he was astonished because the bowl that he had created for her mother was to have a son who had qualities of a Kshatriya. You will have a son who will be ferocious and who will have the qualities of a Kshatriya, whereas your mother will have a son who will have the qualities of a sage or a Brahmin. And you will definitely have your son will be a archer and a ferocious warrior, no doubt. Now his wife was frightened. He said, "Oh my God, what have I done?" So I would prefer the son with who has virtues of a Brahmin. She says, "Now please do something about it." So Richika told his wife, she says, if this does not happen, I shall definitely commit suicide. So she has given an ultimatum to Richika. So Richika told his wife, okay, so you will get what you desire, but your grandson will be what you desire. Now the son, he can't do anything. We can't do anything about it. He's already born. Your grandson will be as what you desire. That means he will be a Brahmin. So then what happened? He did this arrangement, and then he went into penance, and he prayed to Mahavishnu. He prayed to Mahavishnu and requested him to be born as his grandson, that is, as his son's son. So Ruchika's wife gave birth to the very majestic, ascetic Jamadagni. The son born to Jamadagni was Parshurama. So Parshurama, that is Vishnu's incarnation of Parshurama, was born as a grandson to this Rishi's wife. No, sorry, as a Rishi's son. Parshurama was born as son to Jamadagni, who was the Ritika's son. Then Gadi's wife, the queen was also pregnant. He gave birth to a very great ascetic, and his name was Vishwamitra. So when Vishwamitra came of age, he became king. King Gadi, he retired to the forest. He handed over to his king. He handed over his entire kingdom to Vishwamitra and went to the forest. Vishwamitra ruled the kingdom valiantly. He tried to develop the Kshatriya qualities. He went to the forest to kill animals who were tormented by hunger and thirst. Vishwamitra wandered in the forest. He was not very familiar with the Kshatriya qualities of hunting as such. It was not natural to him. So he developed all this hunger and thirst and everything. Finally, he landed in the ashram while wandering in the forest. He landed in the ashram of sage Vasishta. Now you know Vasishta and Vishwamitra are eternal enemies. So why that enmity developed? Entering the ashram, Vishwamitra bowed to the sage Vasishta. Sage Vasishta, of course, offered meals to him. He fed his whole army. The Vishwamitra was a king. He had come with the army into the forest to for hunting. So Vishwamitra, Vasishta fed all the army personnel of Vishwamitra, and at that time he noticed that how did Vasishta was suddenly able to feed Vishwamitra's entire army all of a sudden? How from where the food came? Vasishta had a cow called Nandini. Vasishta had a cow called Nandini. So he asked that Vishwamitra's, he cast his eyes on that cow and he said, oh, this cow is able to produce all this. So he asked for that cow. Vishwamitra asked Nandini, it was a Kamadenu. In other words, it's also called Kamadenu, that is wish fulfilling. That is, whatever you ask that cow, she would give. So the Kamadenu, he wanted to take away Vasishta was refusing to give. He did not give the Kamadenu. So he forcefully tried to take her. Kamadenu, out of her own powers, remember this Kamadenu was one of the cows, one of the precious things that came out of the churning of the Meru, Mount Meru, when the Asuras and Devas had churned. One of the things that came out was this Kamadenu, and Vasishta was given that. So Vishwamitra tried to take away this cow forcefully. So then Kamadenu created her own army and she fought valiantly, tooth and nail. Vishwamitra's army was destroyed. He went back disappointed. So Vishwamitra went back disappointed, but his mind was on that cow. He wanted to have that cow. So he went into penance. He decided to go into penance and acquire powers so as to please Shankara. So he prayed to Shankara and he did penance for 1,000 years. And Shankara was pleased and granted him a boon. Boon means he gave him one astra, one weapon. So with that astra, now Vishwamitra, equipped with that astra, he went to Vasishta, says Vasishta's ashram. Now that weapon which Shankara, Shiva gave was an Agni astra. Agni astra was given to the Vishwamitra, which he used and burnt the entire ashram to ashes. So when Vasishta saw his ashram, all his years of work reduced to ashes, he got very annoyed. And Vasishta had boons from Brahma. He had done penance to Brahma, and he had got from Brahma a weapon called Brahmadanda. He had got an astra Brahmadanda. Now he used that Brahmadanda and completely defeated Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra went back. He hastily retreated. Then the Brahmins who were in that ashram, they pacified Vasishta, and then the Brahma, he retrieved that Brahmadanda, and Vishwamitra also went back to his ashram. Now, Vishwamitra realized that he could not defeat Vasishta. Vishwamitra's pride was affected. He said, how could there be someone who was more powerful than me? I want to acquire what powers he has. So just see how Rajasic tendency goes from one thing to another. This tendency creates a bondage, means it traps us in its clutches. It traps us in that desire for power, for material things, and we are not satisfied at one level. We want to go to the next level and the next level and we want to become the most powerful in the world. So this is how this Rajasic tendency of the chitta, when it is carried to the extreme, takes us to this level. And remember, Vishwamitra, Sage Vasishta were all the rishis, the Sapta rishis, who were created by Brahma himself. So actually, when we pray in our prayers, Christianity, where our Father thou art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. We pray, right? We want to have heaven on earth. When we ask for something, God always says tathastu. Our gods always says tathastu, so be it. So that is how many of the gods came to the earth. Many of the gods from heaven, they have come and lived on this earth. In fact, the Kailash of Shiva, Shiva ruled Kailash as Vishweshwara. So we'll look into that later on. It's already half an hour for today's Mudgal Puran. This story gets more and more intriguing as we progress, because we are getting entangled into our own chitta vrittis, in our mental tendencies, mind tendencies. Our desires are not satisfied. We want to have more and more of it. We want to have so much powers that we want to have godly powers, and we call the gods themselves on earth. It is not only in our religion, in Hinduism or anything. Even in Christianity, we call. Give us this day our daily, what the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And all conditions, like, so that we may not trespass against others, as all that what conditions are existing in heaven, we want to have it on earth, and we called for it. Okay, so we'll continue with this tomorrow. What happens after Vishwamitra? Now Vishwamitra is helpless. He has confronted some superior rishi who has Brahmadanda. Now he has the powers of Brahma, the creator. Brahma is in his heaven, Satyaloka, but he has got a weapon which Brahma has given him. So now Vishwamitra, the rishi, he wants to have the powers which Vasishta has. So let's see the story further tomorrow. Please be seated comfortably. See that your feet are firmly planted on the floor. See that you're grounded. Feel the sensations of Mother Earth beneath your feet. spine erect, hands on your laps with palms facing upwards, eyes gently closed. Bring all your attention, all the thoughts that has been entering your mind on all what we have been discussing so far. Put it all to one side. Just tell the mind, I will look at you later. Bring all your attention to your breathing. Keep the whole stories aside and put all your attention on the incoming breath. Count up to 1 to 8 for every inhalation and 1 to 8 for exhalation. Increase the count to 9. Is all the time on the count in coordination with your intake of breath and the outgoing breath. If it gets distracted, everything else can wait. Focus on the breath. See the air enter the nostrils, go all the way into the lungs, pushing the diaphragm downwards and the abdomen out. And as you exhale slowly, the diaphragm is pushed upwards and the air is thrown out through the nasal passage into the atmosphere. Observe this breath all the way as the mind is counting. You are observing. You are the observer. The mind is counting. You are not the mind. The mind is an instrument. The mind is a tool that you are equipped with to navigate through life. Just as much as your hands are tools, your legs are tools to move from one place to another. Your mind is a tool to engage this body in fruitful actions. This mind is a tool to engage in fulfilling your desires that will take you to your goals. Let us use as a tool. You pick up a pen from the table only when you need to write. After writing, you put it back on the table. Similarly, your mind is a tool for thinking, for planning, and then you focus on its execution. Be in charge of your mind. The mind is connected to the sense organs, the jnanendriyas, the sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of smell, sense of seeing, and sense of taste. It gets attracted to these senses, the sense organs, and it will give instructions to the sense organs to execute what it desires. If we do not have control over the mind, it will work independently, making these sense organs work for it, for fulfilling the desires of the senses, the jnanendriyas. You want to hear more and more of a certain music. You want to eat more and more of a certain food. You want to speak more and more of a certain subject. You want to you want to hear, you want to smell a certain flavor, or you want to see, you want to get engaged in the mobile reels 24 hours of the day. It can make you do it. We all have first hand experience of it, so much so that the blue screen or the green screen or whatever it is, it keeps our eyes engaged on the screen. If the same eyes we use for reading a book, it gets tired after a few pages and we want to rest. But whether, but in electronic instruments like the mobile, the TV, the laptop, or whatever it is, the screen grabs our attention and keeps us focused, which is why even kids are wearing specs these days. The power, the optical nerve gets exhausted in a few years of lifetime. Soon we develop other problems of the eyes, including retina detachment, and other, and we need to fix lens into our eyes. Fixing lens in our eyes seems great. There's no hassle of the specs, and you can see undisturbed. But your lacrimal glands dry up. The lens don't require the natural juices of the body. Lenses for the eyes, ear aids for the ears. The olfactory nerves easily disturbed due to pollution. The thickening of the nasal walls, the nasal walls through which the air gets, or at least the mucus is maintained to filter the germs from entering into the nose. The natural phenomena in the body is completely thrown out of gear. And then we wonder, have we become machines? So far, we have not got any substitute for the nose. Let us breathe. Breathe consciously, fully awake that you're breathing life force for every breath that you take. Be fully present in your body. Get into doing things naturally, using the God gifted organs. It is fully equipped. It has the full knowledge of its functioning. Connect to that natural intelligence within you. The body has its own intelligence apart from the brain, apart from the mind. Each DNA knows what it has to do. The DNA of the cells in the larynx, in your sound box in the throat, has a function different from the DNA of the cells in the digestive tract. Be connected to that natural intelligence of your body. It is your what you have inherited over lifetimes that gets imprinted in the DNA. The human being as a species, we have come a long way. The child born today carries the intelligence of all the generations of the past. Do we want to pass on a legacy that carries that intelligence of generations? To have a better future for our children and grandchildren. As we breathe, we are giving life force to the cells in our body, reinforcing that DNA. Cells die, new cells are born every moment. But the knowledge is passed on from the dying cell to the living cell. See what a beautiful creation you are. A being fully in control of yourself. Hold on to that thought. See how powerful you are. You don't need external validation. You have a purpose in life and you're equipped for that. Be content with your role in the here and now. In this stillness of the mind, where your intelligence is absorbing this wisdom, this understanding that you're experiencing, it's an understanding that becomes knowledge. And knowledge, when applied in daily life, gives you experience which transforms into wisdom and gets energetically embedded in you. So be careful of what you intake. Let us pray that we may have the intelligence to know what is right, to know what we need, and to let go of the rest. Be content. Be in this feeling of peace and calm with no agitations. Just as realization of beingness, just being in the moment with yourself and your full potential. Bring your full attention to your breath. Take 2, 3 breaths long and deep, all the way up to your abdomen. And breathe out. Slowly wriggle your fingers on your hands and your toes. Rub your palms together. Put your palms and place it on the eyes. Slowly rub your hands along your face. And when you're ready, only when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. All right. So if you have any questions, you can message me. You need not immediately ask. We'll take it up in the next session. Okay. So it's nearing 8 o'clock. We conclude here. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.